So this week, the U.S. Supreme Court is about to rule on Biden's freeze, student debt freeze. So since 2020, students haven't had to pay any of their debts. That's 3 years. They haven't paid one penny of their student debt. So who pays it? It's the taxpayer, right? Especially with interest rates now at 5.25%. It's the taxpayer that has to pay those all the interest for all those loans, which is in the like $1 trillion. Okay, it's huge amount of student debt out there that the taxpayer is currently funding. So people that never had a degree are paying for people that wanted the degree, which is it's worse than it's the communism, right? And that's what's been going on, and Biden wants to keep it going. Now, what is the highest inflated product in the Western world? Is it property? Is it stocks? Is it, energy, petrol? No, it's actually student education for universities in America. In the 1980s, a 3-year course then was $12,000 per year. Now it's 4 years, and it's on average, not on average, but it can be up to $90,000 per year. I personally know somebody, she's doing an MBA 2-year course, $120,000 for 2 years, so $60,000 a year for an MBA. In the UK, that's 1 year. In America, it's 2 years. In an undergraduate in the UK is 3 years. In America, it's four. Doctors or dentists in the UK is 5 years. In the US, it's 7. Figure out the scam. Now, most of these degrees, the stuff is online. It's there already. You don't need to go in. It's there. And having done the 3-year economics course, I can tell you I could have done that entire course in probably a year and a half, maybe if you'd have really pushed it in a year. It did not need 3 years, especially when the first year is pointless and irrelevant, doesn't count to anything. So first year is irrelevant, you can get 0, it doesn't matter. And then second and third year are point with the second year a bit lower than obviously much lower than the third year, which is the main one. So an absolute scam all over. And what are we doing? We're lumbering people with thousands of dollars of debt when they get out at huge interest rates. It's not at 5.5. I remember for me, I took a very small loan in my year. It was only £1,000 a year. In the UK now, it's £9,000 a year. Okay, so it was £1,000 a year. So I took a very small loan, and it took me, I don't know, 5 years to pay it off. How? Because the interest was insane. The interest was a much higher rate than what you think it is. So these guys are probably on 9%, 10%. I don't know what they're on. And 10% when you're doing 5-year course and you're still paying 10% from the 50, that means you're already at about 70% from your first year course. You've added on as interest. It sets you up in a debt trap for life. It's impossible. It's impossible to pay off. It's very, very difficult. It'll take you your whole life. Then you figure out that you've got to buy a house, which takes 30 years to pay off. And you realize the debt is there to enslave you. The student debt and housing debt is there to enslave you. I say the secret to all this is stop the debt. All this increase in student costs started when the government said we will give loans for people. Before that, you couldn't get loans. You could get a bank loan, but the government wouldn't underwrite the loan, right? So the colleges knew, oh, the government's underwriting it. We can increase fees and whatever because it's on the government's back. And the students know that as well, in England as well. If you can't pay it, it's on the government's back, you can't pay it. If you leave the country, that's it, you don't pay it. So it's all on the government's back, again, on the taxpayer's back, let's be fair. So all this started when the government started giving loans. Let's scrap all these loans, let's scrap these 30-year mortgages, let's scrap the 20-year mortgages, only 5-year mortgages, maybe I'll give you 10-year mortgage. That's it. Guess what will happen to house prices? They will plummet. Guess what will happen to student courses because they'll be empty? They will plummet. Guess what? They won't be 4 years anymore. They'll be 3, they'll be 2. You don't need all that time. You don't need all that debt. It's a scam. It's to enslave us. And it's destroying everyone's future. It's destroying the world's future because people delay getting married because they've got to pay the debt. People delay having kids. And, the one statistic I saw by a demographer was they asked women, at what age do you think you've got 50-50 chance of having one child or zero child? 50% chance of having one child, 50% chance of never having a kid in your life. And most of them said 40. And the actual answer is actually 30. Right? That's when you have 50-50. After that, it gets less and less and less. So 31, you have more of a chance of never having a child than having a child. That's statistics. So, it's destroying the whole Western society, all this crazy student debt. And Biden wants to lump it all on the back of the taxpayer. It's absurd. It's even more crazy than we thought. So, this is where we are.